Welcome to Craft Chocolate TV. My name is Dylan.
I'm Greg.
And today we are going to talk about Beyond the Bar.
People constantly ask us, appropriately so, what can you make instead of just bars? So there's a bunch of reasons why bars are like a tricky thing to make out of chocolate. So one, you got to temper it, which means equipment for cooling, sometimes equipment for, usually equipment for tempering. It means you have to wrap them and package them. What are some of the other challenges of making bars?
That's not a short question.
Yeah.
But what is extremely valuable about making things beyond bars is that you're adding a certain amount of value and interest to your company.
Totally.
It does add complexity.
Right.
But people love bonbons and people love
Pastries.
totally.
Right.
We've recently started doing more and more panned products because we have macadamia nuts here in Hawaii, and we're forced into it almost because so many customers would come in and be like, where's your chocolate covered macadamia nuts? And after a certain amount of years, like, 10, we did
You
get
started
our
to
act
listen
together
like,
and we're like, all right, people want this.
I think one of the other reasons I get this question a lot is because more people who are starting to make chocolate where cacao is grown, well, the places where cacao is grown are hot. So people are trying to make chocolate there, like, well, I can make bars, but then as soon as somebody walks outside with a bar, it goes out of temper because it's too hot outside. I was just...
Ice cream.
Oh, ice cream. Ice cream is a great one.
It's hot. Every summer, chocolate
Exactly.
makers crush it on ice cream.
So for years, people would walk into Dandelion and say, where's all the chocolate? And I'd be like, you're literally surrounded in chocolate. It smells like chocolate. But they didn't mean, where is the chocolate? They meant, where are the bonbons? Because for so many people, their idea of what chocolate is bonbons, is like a cabinet of different bonbons that they can select.
Yeah.
What
When you think of Forrest Gump sitting there on the bench, what's he eating?
Chocolate. A box of chocolate.
But it's a bunch of bonbons.
Yeah. We started making single origin bonbons, and they immediately rocketed up to the best-selling product we had.
Oh, wow.
And because this is what people want to buy. And so there's a couple of reasons to think about, think beyond the bar.
We did them for a while. We had a chocolatier.
Did. I remember that.
I love them.
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing. I also love bonbons. I mean, like...
Yeah, that is a nice part of our industry.
Yeah.
It's very different than chocolate making.
Right.
It's just another step of adding value. And like you were saying, people want bonbons.
One of the reasons that people try to explore these different spaces is because they feel like bars aren't competitive. And like 15 years ago, 20 years ago, it was a different scene because the main place people were buying chocolate was in like a grocery store or something like that. Things have changed.
I think that it's still kind of like that because you're going into a very competitive market where people perceive a chocolate bar as something that shouldn't be more than $2 to $4.
If a Hershey bar is $2 or a Lindt bar is $4.
But what you were just saying earlier, people won't bat an eye at a bonbon that's $3 to $4.
Exactly.
And they eat that in 1 or 2 bites.
Right. A box or a spread, right? Like I was talking to
spreads are amazing.
I love spreads.
Our chocolate macadamia spread is probably my favorite thing that we make.
Yeah. Well, again, we all love spreads. This is what's really funny is that like we will not make the things we ourselves love as much, and then we start making it, we're like, why weren't we making this thing before?
Well, with bonbons, I kind of know because it's freaking hard.
Bonbons are more complex. It's true.
They don't have a shelf life. So there's a lot of downsides to it, but it is one way that I think a company can support itself with its local market.
I agree. Well, let's go through the list. So there's panned items. So panned items are...
chocolate macadamia nuts, hazelnuts, whatever, anything that's enrobed in chocolate using a machine that looks like a cement mixer.
And like sometimes this can even be like pieces of fruit or gummy bears or it could be anything you want to put through and you just want it covered in chocolate.
I have had delicious chocolate covered gummy bears.
So pros of panned items, you can make massive quantities of them. Like buying a panner is very cheap. You can make really large quantities of these things, and it's like, and you don't have the same challenge you have of like bars and in terms of like the fickleness.
Go one step further on that. It's something that people snack on, and they will crush an entire jar of chocolate covered mac nuts in a sitting on accident.
Right.
And so that's something that chocolate makers struggle with. If like you're going to compare to a brewery, people will go in and drink 3 or 4 beers when they go to the brewery. People don't go into the chocolate factory and eat
3 or 4 bars.
even 1 or 2 bars.
No, it's true.
Really
It's
rare.
true. Even like I love chocolate. Anyone who's ever heard me talk about anything knows I love chocolate. I won't eat a whole dandelion bar in one sitting. I mean, sometimes, but not usually. You know, so like panned items, you're right. Panned items are snackable. Now the downside of panned items is, you know, there are like you need specialized equipment to do it. There, depending on what you're panning, there could be a perceived issue of like price value. But I think overall, panned items seem to be a pretty good way to go. People seem pretty excited about panned items.
So our challenges with panned items are not making the item so much, making the product, it's packaging.
Yeah.
Because we're so set up and focused on chocolate bars.
Yeah.
We've got an automated molding line. We've got a packaging line, a flow wrapper, a metal detector, and a cartoning machine. We're set up for that. And so when it comes to, you have one person, and we've been creative in the way that we've panned. We have a big panner that we got in an auction for a few $1,000s.
Yep.
We then have a tempering machine, which we needed anyway.
Right.
And then we took a portable air conditioning system and put the snorkel device at the top. And we can blow cold air in there when we want. And so one person can make, 100 pounds of panned chocolate macadamia nuts in like half a day.
Yep.
Packaging it requires like 4 people all of a sudden sticking nuts in tubes and making sure it's weighed properly and making sure you then seal it properly and then you have to put it in the box. It's way more. And packaging this is actually a great topic to talk about another time, but it takes the most amount of people even when you're somewhat
packaging is one of the hardest parts to do. And there's also, but we won't get into packaging right now, but panned items. So panned items, upside is that you can make lots of them relatively cheaply, relatively easily. People snack them, people love them. Packaging, I agree, is challenging.
So spreads.
So
go ahead.
I was going to say, we started doing spreads partially because we also love spreads ourselves. And so the upside of spreads is in a hot environment, you don't have to worry about the spread melting. Even if a spread separates, people just know, you just like, it's like that peanut butter with the oil on top. So even if your spread separates, people know that you can just mix it back together. So they're not really
That being said, we still have to temper it.
You have to
temper our spread.
We do too. But if it breaks, people aren't like, oh, this is gone bad, right? They have a good idea of why.
Right. They see the oil come to the top. They know how to mix it up.
Yeah.
So we do a chocolate macadamia spread, and every now and then we'll do a hazelnut spread, which is our version of Nutella. And then we've also done a coconut cashew spread, and we did.
Oh, that sounds really good.
What was it? We got a bunch of nuts that was mixed, and they were candied. It was like honey almond and candied pecans.
Oh, sounds amazing.
God. This was crazy good. In fact, this is something that we need to bring back.
Yeah.
But anyway, people love spreads. They're not that hard, and you can use your tempering machine.
You're right.
So whether it's a Selmy or a Gammy or
and we use our like old tempering machine for it because it's not as finicky. Yeah, exactly. So Dandelion, we've done a variety of spreads. I think my favorite spread consistently, Soma out of Toronto does a pistachio spread that is phenomenal. And Aris from Cacao Workshop in Greece, he said his business is like all spreads now, and he's like super excited about this. And he makes some phenomenal. He makes a pistachio one as well. So like I think one of the things that's interesting about spreads is you can do single origin chocolates, you can do different nuts. There's a lot of combinations.
What I'm also putting together is just nuts and chocolate is that's a good combo.
It's a good combo. I mean, like
it's a recipe for success
here. A friend of mine
here.
just texted me the other day and he goes, "Why are nuts and chocolate such a good combo?" And I was like, "It's actually a solid." I mean, like technically cocoa beans are a seed, as well. And so they're all kind of half fat. But it is this funny thing of like, like nuts and chocolate really do go quite well together.
Best-selling chocolate items in the world, I believe, are Snickers bars and Reese's peanut butter cups.
Oh yeah,
Those two things both have peanuts.
Yeah, it's true. Okay, next thing, drinks.
Yeah, and this is getting more and more popular.
Super popular. I mean, drinks have been around forever, but I think one of the things that people are starting to realize is that I think part of it's because of the coffee culture, but we sell a drinking chocolate, and you can make different flavored drinking chocolates, and you can make different, but like our drinking chocolates sell like crazy. Again, you don't have to worry about the heat. You don't have to worry about it falling out of temper. You actually want it to be untempered, because if it's untempered, then it's going to melt faster. But I will say, there's hot chocolate and hot cocoa.
And I think you guys even do a cold hot chocolate.
Well, but there's a difference
cold
between
chocolate.
But there's a difference between hot chocolate and hot cocoa. Hot cocoa uses cocoa powder, defatted. Hot chocolate just uses chocolate. So we make hot chocolate. And so what we do for our hot chocolate, we do not make hot cocoa. So what we do for our hot chocolate is we literally make chocolate, we don't temper it, we let it bloom, and then we grind it into a powder and put it in a bottle.
Nice.
Yeah,
I've had it.
hot chocolate.
It's delicious.
It's great.
So while we're on the topic of drinks, can you pass me that bottle there?
Oh, yes.
Shameless plug.
Shameless plug.
This is our cacao wine.
Oh my God.
And this is a whole nother value-added product that can come out of the cacao industry. And when you're fermenting, or before fermenting, we've had the juice pressed off the seed. And if anyone hasn't had the juice, it is phenomenal. In fact, that got me into this industry more than chocolate initially.
Cacao fruit is one of the tastiest fruits out there, if you ask me. It's so good.
And this is now a wine. It's a 10% alcohol wine, and we're still messing around with the recipe.
Yeah.
But this is the second version we've done in the last few years. We got going just before COVID. COVID stopped everything.
Right.
Now Hawaii's actually getting enough juice that we can do this here. So this is a Hawaiian cacao juice. Number 2, our neighbor made this.
It's very tasty.
A Bueno wine, and we're impressed.
Yeah, it's really good.
Drinks.
Yeah, exactly. But drinks. This is the thing, and I'm glad you brought this up too, because I think a lot of people think of, like, what they have to make is chocolate-based products, but you're like, well, what about cocoa nibs or like cocoa pulp?
Right. There's something great about not wasting any part of this process.
Totally. We sell in our cafes a smoothie made out of cacao pulp that we get out of Ecuador. It sells great. It's very refreshing. It's like it's still cocoa based, but it's the fruit, not
We
chocolate.
actually take just the juice and add carbonated water, and it's a spritzer.
It's so good.
Incredible.
Right.
So on that same thing, we have 3 items that we sell in our chocolate shop, Manoa Chocolate. We sell bags of nibs.
Oh yeah.
We sell bags of the shell. We
Yep.
call it chocolate tea.
Right.
And we've been doing that for like 13 years.
Yep.
And we sell all the shells if they're coming from certain origins.
Yep.
And then we have another byproduct of the winnowing process that we call brew.
Right.
Brewing chocolate. And these are a lot of fines.
Yeah.
And it's almost like coffee grounds.
Right.
And so it's been a good substitute, and we sell that as well.
People love it. And again, it's better if it's something enjoyable that you can consume. Why throw it away if people now there people have talked about concerns of like there could be like heavy metal or like mycotoxins, etc. But you just need to test it, and then you know that it's safe.
We did at that lab you recommended just the other day.
Yeah, exactly.
Came out great.
Comes out great.
The only thing is, you can't do all cacao. You can't use certain origins because if it's too acidic, you'll taste it tastes sour, and it doesn't. Well, unless it's paired with something, maybe.
Yeah.
But otherwise, origins like Costa Esmeraldas or Uganda, Leaky Forest, these work really well.
Right.
And so we're then able to gain value from that and bag that up as tea.
I think it's fantastic. Okay, so what goes well with tea? Pastries. Pastries are one of the
we're
things.
also getting into that.
Yeah, pastries are one of the things that Dandelion, like when we first got started, we were making bars and pastries. A lot of other people got started with bars and bonbons or bars and ice cream. We were bars and pastries.
I also think these industries, like pastries and like ice cream, are some of the largest consumers of chocolate in the world.
Yeah.
Hands down. Like there's so much chocolate that goes to an ice cream company or large pastries.
There's a chocolate maker out in Melbourne, Australia, that they were saying that the largest consumption of their chocolate is the batons that go into pain au chocolat.
Oh, yeah.
Because there's so many bakeries in Melbourne that like make croissants and pain au chocolat, and everyone needs chocolate. Turns out better chocolate makes a better pastry. Like, I know. Well, there's all these things where it's like, better butter makes a better pastry. Better chocolate makes a better pastry. Yeah. And so this is another one of the things that I think we started. One of the things, so early on, it's kind of a long story, but I'm going to keep it short. Early on, we had a pastry chef who was not our current executive pastry chef, and he left. And after he left, we had like guest pastry chefs every week. And one of the things we did is we gathered all this data, because these guest pastry chefs would make like whatever they felt like, and people would make cakes or pies or
I see where this is going.
Yeah. I mean, like jarred things or like all these things. It turns out, even when you account for price, without question, by a long shot, people want to buy chocolate chip cookies.
I knew it.
No, it's true. I mean, that's what I want too. Maybe it was just me. It's possible that I skewed the data.
So we hired an excellent pastry chef.
Right.
And I had a chocolate chip cookie this morning that she had made.
And it was pretty freaking good, right?
I am not upset about it.
Yeah, exactly. So I think one of the things, and like this is part of building businesses, what is it that people are looking for when they come in your door? And I think a chocolate chip cookie,
a really good brownie.
Well, and again, how much chocolate goes into that chocolate chip cookie? And you can definitely charge $3. Like $3 is not unreasonable for a nice sized chocolate chip cookie. I've seen $4 or $5 and paid it and been totally happy paying that too for the right size cookie. It's not that much chocolate. It's mostly flour and butter and sugar, but you can make a really fantastic pastry out of it. We have our pastry chef at Dandelion, Lisa Vega. She makes a wide variety of things, but it is one of the reasons I think people come back to Dandelion again and again is for the pastries. People love the chocolate, but the pastries are just such a great representation of it.
I believe it. Well, I think that was a pretty solid list of things that you can make besides chocolate bars.
Yeah. Hopefully people will start making all these things and we get to eat them.
That's right. Everywhere we go.
I love that.
Well, until next time, thanks for watching.
Thanks.
Aloha.